birashoboka.
We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi News in English.
This is Radio Imanzi, broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Umugangu. The headlines. The Rwanda TVET board says some changes have been made in the existing programs that it already offers. Food and non-alcoholic beverages prices in urban areas increased by 29.2% during the month of August compared to the same period last year. William Ruto has been sworn in as Kenya's 5th post-independence president. Welcome back. News in detail. The Rwanda TVET board says some changes have been made in the existing programs that it already offers and that they will have more significance and effects than previously. These advancements are in line with the government's plan outlined in the National Strategy for Transformation 1 to admit 60% of all O-level graduates to TVET schools. According to the board, the changes were made to keep up with the international pace of technological development. Umukunzi Paul, the Rwanda TVET Board Director General, said the board will also hold various forums and workshops to help students improve their knowledge. He also said they intend to establish a fund to assist students in fully implementing their projects. Primary school leaders and teachers who are undergoing induction training on technology-enabled teaching and pedagogical techniques for increased classroom engagement have said the skills they are learning will improve the quality and relevance of learning in public and primary schools. The training is facilitated by the Rwanda Basic Education Board through the Government of Rwanda initiative, Rwanda Education Quality Improvement Program. The program is designed to improve teaching and learning in primary schools where each student receives the effective, equitable and engaging education they need to reach their full unique potential. The initiative, which is in its second year, targets improved learning outcomes for students by empowering teachers in more than 750 government and government-aided schools by 2024. Honorable Gaspar Twagirayezu, the Minister of State in charge of primary and secondary education, said technology-enabled transformation of the primary education system is an essential part of realizing Rwanda's Vision 2050 to becoming a knowledge-based economy. The Ministry of Youth and Culture, in collaboration with organizing partners, has scheduled the 5th edition of the Youth Connect Africa Summit to October 13th to 15th, 2022 in Beka Arena, Kigali, Rwanda. The summit, under the theme Accelerating Investments in Youth, Resilient Africa, is expected to attract over 10,000 participants from Africa and the rest of the world. Topics to be discussed include the youth contribution to climate action and sustainable peace and security, cultural, creative industry, sports, economy, skilling for digital economy, agriculture and food systems, trade and youth health, among others. While announcing this year's summit, the Minister of Youth and Culture, Rosemary Mbabazi, noted that the government of Rwanda recognizes the central and transformative role the youth can play in economic recovery. Through different sessions, debates, youth labs, exhibitions, training sessions, exchange and networking lounges, and pop-up events, among other things, young people will have multiple occasions to work and directly exchange with government and business leaders, as well as representatives of international organizations, and present their solutions to Africa's challenges. The government of Rwanda signed a framework agreement with Arise Integrated Industrial Platforms, a developer and operator of world-class industrial ecosystems across Africa, to develop an industrial zone in the Bugesera district. Now Bugesera district could soon have a state-of-the-art industrial park. The agreement, which is in line with developers' ambition to unlock Africa's industrial potential, will support the government of Rwanda in advancing the country's industrialization agenda. The special economic zone will seek to promote and attract multi-sectoral industrial and commercial investments in the country and develop the local manufacturing of raw materials into high-added value products. The zone is expected to be entirely operational in 3 years, starting in 2022, with construction happening in 3 phases, spreading across a total of 330 hectares. Claire Akamanzi, CEO of the Rwanda Development Board, said the zone will open up immense opportunities for the district, which is expected to be economically buoyed by the international airport under construction in the district. The government has said a high-capacity ship that transports 150 people, 6 cars and 10 tons of goods is being assembled and will be soon introduced on Lake Kivu to boost water transport. Emil Patrick Baganizi, Deputy Director General of Rwanda Transport Development Agency, said the works to assemble the ship under government support are at about 50%. It will cost between $2.5 million and $3 million. He said it will be completed by the end of the current fiscal year and thereafter launch transport operations. Currently, a small boat with a carrying capacity of 30 people, introduced in 2018, is transporting passengers from Muhombo Island to Rusizi. Baganizi noted that these small boats will be transporting passengers to the port, where they can go on to the high-capacity ship that is being assembled. According to the transport agency, 3 big public boats will be available on Lake Kivu by 2023 in addition to the small one.
Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi.
Food and non-alcoholic beverages prices in urban areas increased by 29.2% during the month of August compared to the same period last year, according to the latest Consumer Price Index released by the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda. The Urban Consumer Price Index is calculated based on approximately 1,622 products in 12 urban centers of Rwanda. The index shows that prices across the country increased by 20.4% on an annual basis and increased by 1.1% on a monthly basis. Urban prices increased by 15.9% on an annual basis from August 2022 and August 2021, and increased by 0.5% on a monthly basis, August 2022 to July 2022. In rural areas, prices increased by 23.6% on an annual basis and increased by 1.6% on a monthly basis. The annual average inflation rate between August 2022 and August 2021 was 7.3%. Housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuel prices increased by 7.5%. Transport increased by 12.6%, and restaurants and hotels increased by 18.5% on an annual basis. General prices for August 2022 increased by 0.5% compared to July 2022. The Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 200,878,000 Rwandan francs from 1,225,000 shares traded in 3 deals on the equities market and 136,674,000 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in 4 deals on the fixed income market. Bralirwa closed the counter at 164 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 196,800,000 Rwandan francs from 1,200,000 shares traded in 1 deal. M10 Rwanda closed the counter at 176 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 4,078,000 Rwandan francs from 25,000 shares traded in 2 deals. The rest of the equities counters closed with Bank of Kigali at 272 Rwandan francs, I&M Bank at 43 Rwandan francs, Simerwa at 120 Rwandan francs, Equity Bank at 440 Rwandan francs, Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs, National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs, Uchumi Supermarket at 104 Rwandan francs, and RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. The currency market review of today. The Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.5 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 8.7 Rwandan francs. Tanzanian shilling buying price was 0.43 and the selling price was 0.44. Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.26 and the selling price was 0.27. Burundian franc buying price was 0.49 and the selling price was 0.5. The US dollar buying price was 1,027 and the selling price was 1,047. The British pound buying price was 1,200 and the selling price was 1,224. The euro buying price was 1,039 and the selling price was 1,060.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
William Ruto has been sworn in as Kenya's 5th post-independence president. Tens of thousands of people joined regional heads of state at a packed stadium in Nairobi to watch him take the oath of office, with many spectators clad in the bright yellow of Ruto's party cheering and waving Kenyan flags. Ruto said that Kenya was in a deep economic hole and he pledged to lower the cost of living as a priority. Among his ambitious promises was the creation of a 50 billion shilling hustler fund to provide loans to small businesses and a commitment to bring down prices for fuel, grain and fertilizers. The President of Tanzania, Samia Suluhu Hassan, has urged African countries to fully implement the African Continental Free Trade Area by removing non-tariff barriers within the continent. She said when people approach regional or international markets, there are a number of non-tariff barriers, such as permits, licenses, and so on. If the whole of Africa works to remove the barriers, then businesses is going to grow. The Tanzanian head of state made the remarks in Dar es Salaam when addressing the African Continental Free Trade Area Conference on Women and Youth in Trade. She explained that the East African Community member states have tried to remove such barriers, and trade has grown up to 6 or 7 times in 3 years. Ms. Samia said figures for imports and exports within Africa are still very low. It's a shame that we trade more outside the continent than between ourselves. She noted that the African Continental Free Trade Area provides a big opportunity to the private sector to be a catalyst for development, but warned countries must ensure that they remove all trade barriers to ease business. Foreign independent power producer HDF Energy expects its green hydrogen power plant in Namibia, Africa's first, to start producing electricity by 2024. Currently, Namibia imports more than a third of its power from neighboring South Africa. Once the plant is operational, it will supply clean electricity power 24 hours a day all year round, boosting electricity supply in the nation. The number of people trapped in forced labor or forced marriage and other crises has swelled by a fifth in recent years to about 50 million on any given day, according to the United Nations International Labour Organization. The study by the UN Agency for Labour and Migration, along with the Work Free Foundation, found that at the end of last year, more than half of those had been forced to work against their will, and the rest forced into marriage. That means nearly 1 out of every 150 people in the world are caught up in modern forms of slavery. The report by the Labour Agency says both forced labour and forced marriage came under the definition of modern slavery, as they involved people who cannot refuse or cannot leave because of threat, violence, deception, abuse of power, or other forms of coercion. The UN had set a goal to eradicate all forms of modern slavery by 2030, but the number of people caught up in forced labor or forced marriage ballooned by 10 million between 2016 and 2021. The agency said the situation had been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, which worsened conditions and swelled debt levels for many workers, as well as armed conflicts and climate change, leaving people in extreme poverty and forcing more to migrate. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.